NFL Week 1 is here. But the question is, who should you bet on to kick off the 2025 NFL season? Where should your money go in Week 1 of this NFL season? Welcome, football fans and gridiron gamblers, to the first spread picks video here on the new Money Mitch channel. And my goal for 2025 is to help make you some money this NFL season. So if that sounds good, like the video and don't be a jabroni. Subscribe to the channel for weekly NFL spread picks, best bets, over-under picks every single week here on the Money Mitch channel. And guys, if you want my official favorite picks every week, my favorite bets every week, then check out the Patreon. That link will be in the description as well as the pinned comment. If you don't know me, I'm Mitch. This is my new channel, exclusive to NFL betting and fantasy football. Long time I've been making picks on the Bottom Line View, my original channel. And now my goal is to take that next step in the betting space. So we're beginning here with Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. And I welcome you to join me on the ride. So let's get started. I'm going to give you a breakdown of each game, give you my spread pick, and also lean into my level of confidence for each pick. If you're looking for my absolute favorite best bets, that video will also come out on Thursday. In the future, this video will be on a Tuesday. Best bets will be on a Wednesday. We'll have opening line reports on Mondays. So a lot of content coming pretty much every day of the NFL season. So look forward to that. NFL Week 1's always tricky. There's a lot going on. I got fantasy drafts. I got numerous channels I'm working on. It's just getting started here on Money Mitch. So a lot we're working on. But let's get started with the kickoff game. That is the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 8.5. I like the Cowboys plus the 8.5. I feel like a lot of people are going to react to the Micah Parsons trade. A lot of casual NFL fans, a lot of casual sports bettors are going to put their money on the Super Bowl champs. The last memory they have is the Chiefs getting wrecked by this Eagles team. But this Eagles team is a little bit different in a couple different areas, and we're going to break down why that helps the Cowboys. First of all, Kellen Moore is gone. Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator of this Eagles team. The Eagles are having to adjust to a slightly different offense, slightly different play caller, a first-time real experience with him, Jalen Hurts, and the entire offense. That's first things first. Second, Mekhi Becton, their big mauling guard, is now gone to the Chargers. Tyler Steen installed on the offensive line. He played a lot of snaps in the Super Bowl because Becton was injured. Steen is a fine player. He's not Mekhi Becton in my opinion. I do think a matchup the Cowboys need to win to keep this close is the interior defensive line against the offensive line or interior offensive line of the Eagles. Odigizua on the Cowboys, one of the best interior rushers in football, could take advantage of Steen starting his first ever real game for the Philadelphia Eagles, like actually having to play a big role in the game without just being plug and play, right? I think they could win that matchup. Kenny Clark, the man they got from the Packers, he's going to play against those early downs for the Eagles where they run the ball with Saquon Barkley. He's going to help their run defense. The Eagles, the matchup they can win is running the football. I actually look at the Cowboys secondary now with Trayvon Diggs healthy, extending Deron Bland. They have solid safeties. Matt Eberflus, new defensive coordinator. I think they're going to keep a shell on the Eagles, and I think that overall, Saquon will probably have a good game, probably a lot of carries, but that's going to eat time, eat the clock, and I feel like the Eagles are going to try to control the game on the ground. It's week 1, right? They don't want to get too fancy, too crazy, right? They're simple as an offense overall anyways, and I do feel like that might lead the Cowboys to staying in the game a little bit. I would say that the Cowboys can fare okay in the pass game. I think their corners are good enough to take on A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And I feel like that pass rush is still there, even without Parsons. They still have quality pass rushers like Adigizua, like Kenny Clark, like Dante Fowler, who had 10.5 sacks last year on the Commanders. They brought him in. So I think the Cowboys' defense is leaky. It's not great, but I feel like they won't get absolutely shredded through the air. They might have problems on the ground, but that's why they traded for Kenny Clark. On the other side, I like that Guyton's playing for the Cowboys at left tackle. That was a big concern. The Eagles' pass rush, though, they're going to have to adjust without Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. I'm intrigued to see how it looks without those guys. A big matchup for the Cowboys to take advantage of is the CB2 of the Eagles. Darius Slay gone to Pittsburgh. They have to find out who that guy is. There's been a struggling camp battle between multiple Eagle corners, and they don't really know who their CB2 is right now. George Pickens was one of the biggest moves, if not the biggest move the Cowboys made all offseason. He should feast against the Eagles in this game. And I think Dak should be effective throwing the ball overall in this game. Now, the Cowboys do not have much balance. I don't expect them to really be able to run the ball all that effectively in this game. But I do think that even if the Eagles get ahead early, the Cowboys could throw their way back into the game and backdoor cover such a big number. So I think the number is too big. I think it's a spotlight primetime game. The Cowboys don't want to be embarrassed. They have a new coach, right? They just made this big move. Maybe that's actually a move that makes the team kind of believe and try to push and try to prove people wrong. And I just think the Eagles, is there a chance they could blow the Cowboys out? Sure. I just still feel like they're adjusting to some things early in this season. It won't be absolutely perfect for them. So I'm going to take the Cowboys plus the big number of 8.5 in a division rivalry to kick the season off. Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs are favored by 3. I would lean towards the Chiefs here. I feel like Kansas City, they're just more prepared in these moments. It's week 1. Andy Reid's had all offseason to prepare for Minter's defense. Rashee Rice is not playing, obviously suspended. Pacheco looked better in the preseason. I feel like their run game should be better. The offensive line, I believe in Simmons at left tackle. I think the Chargers are not quite as talented as people think. I am concerned about Rashawn Slater not being in the lineup and how Joe Alt moves to the left, how that makes Pipkins at right tackle have to perform. I just think the Chiefs in a big spotlight game, neutral game site, Brazil, big moment, everyone's watching. I trust Patrick Mahomes in those moments. I haven't seen Justin Herbert win many of those games. And as much as a lot of people I think will be on the Chargers here, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I like the Chiefs secondary. I think that McDuffie's a good matchup for McConkey, for example. And I feel like the Chiefs offense is going to kind of be surprising to a lot of people. I feel like with Hollywood, Worthy, I think Kelsey early in the year will be more rejuvenated and fresh. I think they can win this game. I'm not saying they'll blow them out. I think it will be close. But if I had to lean either way at 3, I would take Kansas City -3. They could win by 6 or 7, in my opinion, right? A touchdown or so. I could see them maybe winning by 4, something like that. 3.5, maybe you lean a little bit more to the Chargers because of that hook and the potential field goal. But I like the Chiefs here at 3, okay? Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. Cardinals are favored by 6.5. I'm taking the Cardinals. Short, sweet, simple. The Saints are the worst team in the league. They have a really, really poor quarterback in Spencer Rattler behind somewhat inexperienced offensive line, especially at left tackle with their rookie Kelvin Banks. They have an inexperienced head coach against, I feel like, an underrated head coach in Jonathan Gannon, who now has some pieces to play with in his defensive front 7. I think he's going to showcase that in week 1. I think the Cardinals offense is one of the more underrated in the NFL in terms of their run game. I think they'll be able to get a lead, run the ball, and sustain that lead. James Conner is awesome. Their O-line, their run scheme is awesome. Kyler running the football as well against a slow, old Saints defense who usually struggles against mobile quarterbacks. The secondary of the Saints is also pathetic. It's one of the worst corner groups in football. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride could both have some pretty big games here. I think the Cards are a good team. I think they're slightly underrated. They're a near playoff type of team. I think their defense shows out, confuses Rattler, and they win fairly easily. I think they win by like 2 touchdowns. So I take the Cardinals here, -6.5. Next, the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Atlanta Falcons. Tampa favored by 2.5. I would stay away from this game overall. My first inclination, and this could be a pick that I would change or I could alter, I really do like the Bucks more than the Falcons, but the Falcons swept the Bucks last year, and Robinson seemed dialed in against Todd Bowles. Like, he had all the answers against Todd Bowles. I think part of that is because Zach Robinson, the OC of Atlanta, is from the Rams, and Sean McVay just destroyed Todd Bowles time after time after time. We don't know what we're getting from Michael Penix. Tampa does not have Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. They don't have Chris Godwin at wide receiver, McMillan at wide receiver. They're already a little bit weaker and kind of injured entering this game. Atlanta's without their right tackle, Caleb McGarry. That's also concerning. I could see this game going either way. Like, I would totally stay away, but something is telling me the Falcons. Take the Falcons plus the points. I think that Drake London has a big game here. Darnell Mooney is healthy and looking like he's going to be active. A lot, though, will fall on Michael Penix here because I'm not sure that the Falcons will be able to run all over Tampa because Tampa's really good against the run typically. You know, and can AJ Terrell maybe slow down Mike Evans a little bit, right? Like, will Emeka Ibuka just rip up the Falcons in his first ever game? I'm not so sure. Baker and him need to maybe build some chemistry. And I think without Wirfs, with a new OC adjusting to that, like the chemistry in terms of the Bucks, it needs some work. So, yeah, I like the Falcons. They swept the matchups last year, and I feel like the Bucks are beat up. So I'm going to take the Falcons here in a slight upset, I guess. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers at Jacksonville. I would take Jacksonville -3.5. I'm not sure if I'll bet this game, but that's my first inclination. I feel like it's in Jacksonville, first of all, which is one of the more awkward places to play, especially early in the year. It's going to be very hot. I will say that Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young are both wild cards. I could see either one having a good game here, and I feel like this might be a higher scoring game. I really like Liam Cohen, and I feel like his offense against Carolina last year was absolutely dialed in Tampa Bay. I feel like he could do something similar with Jacksonville. And I think the relatively unknown factor of what Jacksonville is going to give us on offense is intriguing to me as a bet because I feel like I don't know how Travis Hunter's going to be used. That could be something really good for this game. Who's going to be the running back and how are they going to be utilized, right? Like, there is familiarity with Carolina with Liam Cohen because he's from Tampa. But at the same time, I feel like we don't really know how it looks with Brian Thomas. We don't really know how it looks with Trevor Lawrence and all these pieces. The main weakness of Jacksonville's offense is their offensive line, and Carolina has the worst pass rush in the NFL. So I'm not too worried about that. I don't think Carolina can cover Thomas and Hunter and all the weapons that they have. Tim Patrick, De'Ami Brown, Brenton Strange. I think Jacksonville's offense will cook in this game. I think on the other side, Jacksonville being at home certainly helps them contain Carolina. The run defense of Jacksonville is typically better than their pass defense, where Carolina likes to lean on Hubbard, Dowdle in the run game, and the offensive line. I don't think they'll fare too poorly with their linebackers, Aluakon leading the way. And then I like Campbell matching up with the rookie McMillan. I feel like Campbell is a pretty underrated cornerback. So I just like the matchups a little bit better for Jacksonville. Plus, they're at home. I think their offense is really explosive. So I'll take Jacksonville here with their upside. Next, Cincinnati at Cleveland. A lot of people might be on Cleveland here because Cincinnati tends to struggle early in the season. They tend to lay an egg in week 1. And Cleveland has played Cincy fairly well. But I actually like the Bengals under 6 because I think 5.5 is like in a weird dead zone type of number. Like it's under a touchdown. I think Cincy can win by a touchdown. They swept Cleveland last year ultimately. Joe Flacco scares me a little bit because he is a gunslinger and he will take chances. And against a terrible Bengals defense, that's a little tricky and a little scary. But I think Cleveland is overrated on defense entering the year. I think their pass rush is not as good as people think outside of Myles Garrett. And really, they only have Denzel Ward at cornerback. Like, and they play too much man coverage. Even Denzel Ward is going to get beat by Jamar Chase playing that much man coverage, and T. Higgins is a problem, and the Bengals have numerous other weapons they can throw to, like Mike Gesicki. They signed Noah Fant. I think their offensive line has actually improved this year. They just signed Dalton Reisner, which I think will help their guard position. Chase Brown's effective. I just think the Browns won't be able to go toe-to-toe, point for point, score for score, drive for drive with Joe Burrow, who's dialed in, who played in the preseason. I think that actually has effect here, and I think that actually takes shape for Cincinnati. And if Joe throws a bad pick or two, which is bound to happen, I think that, or Joe Flacco, that will definitely persuade the game to go to Cincinnati. So I could see them winning even just by a touchdown, like 27-20. But I still think that will be enough to cover. So I'm going to take the Bengals here in kind of a sneaky spread game. Miami at Indianapolis. This is really tough. Something in my gut is telling me the Colts, but I don't love this. I don't love picking against Miami early in the year where they're fresh and they're rested. I don't like picking against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and the speed of Miami in a dome, but it's in Indy. I think Daniel Jones is going to be a bit better than people think for the Colts, just because I think he can run the offense, unlike Anthony Richardson. And he's basically like, they did well with like Gardner Minshew a couple years ago. Like, I think Daniel Jones can run this offense with all the weapons he does have, with a solid offensive line, with Jonathan Taylor to hand the ball to. The Dolphins, they're dealing with a lot of defensive issues. Their pass rushers are coming back from injury, essentially, at the edge position. Their corners are pathetic. They have the worst corner group arguably in the league. We can compare them to the Saints. Like, they're really bad, right? They're worse than Carolina. Like, they're terrible in the secondary. And you have to deal with Josh Downs. You have to deal with Michael Pittman. You have to deal with Alec Pierce. Ty Warren is going to be involved. So the Colts have a lot of weapons. I think they're very solid at the line of scrimmage. I think they can get some pressure on Tua. And, they've got a smart defensive coach in Lou Anarumo now, coming from the Bengals, who I think can find a way to slow down Tyreek Hill. He's done it before in Kansas City. I think the Colts defense and overall roster is underrated. I think I'm going to take the Colts at home in this game. I think the Dolphins are overrated, Colts are underrated, so I'll take them there. The Giants at the Commanders. I like the Giants plus the points here. I'd prefer 6.5, 7. It's getting lower and lower and lower as we go here. But I like the Giants because last year, both games were decided by, I believe, 5 points or less, but at least by a score or less. So I'll say that. The Giants are a lot better this year than they were last year, and I think the Commanders will be worse. Off the first week here, Terry McLaurin, I'm not sure if he'll be 100% or like ready to rock because he was holding out for basically the entire offseason. I'm not really buying into Debo in Washington. I think the Commanders are very, very susceptible on defense. I look at the Giants, and they have one of the most athletic, one of the most gifted, one of the most loaded pass rushes in football. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. They've got a linebacker that can swarm Jaden Daniels and Bobby Okereke. And they have a secondary that's improved with Javon Holland, and Paulson Adebo can go one-on-one with Terry McLaurin, I feel like, and not get burnt. And then on the other side, Russell Wilson is interesting against this specific defense where the Commanders like to play man and they like to play cover one. And Russ's best thing, and cover one only puts one safety down the field, right? And keeps that guy in the box. The Giants will try to run the ball, but against Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, I could see them getting some big plays down the field with Russell Wilson's moon ball. So I think there will be explosives. So I think the Giants will stay in the game through their defense, their front seven, and through Russell Wilson's explosive passes. And Brian Daboll is coaching for his job, period. I think the Giants could win this game outright. Next, the Steelers and the Jets. I love the Steelers here. -2.5, -3. I think they win. And honestly, they probably only need to score like 20 points and they'll still be able to cover this game. They're on the road in New York, but Aaron Rodgers obviously very familiar with MetLife. He played there last year. Mike Tomlin against Aaron Glenn is a flat-out mismatch. A rookie head coach against Mike Tomlin, who's a future Hall of Famer. The Steelers don't have a great offense, no mistaking that, but I do think they can run the ball a bit against the Jets, who have been susceptible against the run the last 2 years. I think that Arthur Smith's a smart coordinator. He'll find ways to beat the blitz with screens and things like that I think Rodgers, he'll be able to see things coming against Aaron Glenn, who's also, he has familiarity with because he was in Green Bay when they were in Detroit. And then on the other side, the Steelers, I just think the defense for the Steelers wins this game. Elijah Vera Tucker injured, right? You've got a number of different corners who could match up with Garrett Wilson here, whether it be Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, or Joey Porter Jr. on Garrett Wilson. They'll probably resort 2 people to him because honestly, they don't have any other receivers. And I don't think the Steelers are really going to give up much on the ground. Their front seven is way too good. Their pass rush is awesome. Justin Fields holds onto the ball. I could see strip sacks. I could see disaster for Justin Fields. 5-6 sacks taken. It's going to be bad, I think. TJ Watt will dominate. So I think the Steelers will win this game pretty easily, although it will probably be ugly. Next, we've got the Patriots at home versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I like the Patriots covering 2.5, although I'm a Patriots fan. I'm not overly strong on this, but I do like the Patriots. I feel like under 3, it's a nice number. I just think they're the better, more talented team. First of all, they're at home. Second of all, the Raiders have a lot of adjusting to do with numerous different things when it comes to their offensive system, a new quarterback, a couple new offensive linemen, an entirely new defense, it feels like especially the back half of the defense. And I'm not a huge fan of the defense as it stands. I think they're the weakest unit in this game. I think Drake May against this kind of unit can take advantage. Drake May does not have exactly the Bengals weapons, but they're improved from last year. When it comes to Stephon Diggs, I think Josh McDaniels, this is a bit of a revenge game for him. I think the Patriots will have a very good running game throughout this season, and the Raiders do have a very, very leaky interior defensive line. They got rid of Wilkins this offseason. I think Stevenson and Henderson could have big games here. And I think the Patriots have enough at receiver to make plays, whether it be Diggs, whether it be Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry. It's a very weak Raiders secondary. As long as they block Max Crosby, they should be okay. And Drake May can kind of make plays by himself with his legs or his arms. So I think the Patriots will just be more effective on offense, where the Raiders, they'll be having to adjust in a new system, some new playmakers, some rookies out there. Also, I feel like the Patriots defense is very good on paper. As long as Gonzo goes, you got Gonzo, you got Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane added to the mix, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Harold Landry. That defensive front is pretty awesome too. I think they'll find ways to get some pressure on Geno. So I think the Patriots win this game like by a touchdown or something, like 24-17, somewhere in that range. But I just feel like they're the better team, and they're at home, and it's only under a field goal. So I'll take New England. You got the Titans at Denver. I'm going to take Denver, but I don't love it. I mean, it's 8. It's a big number, but it's Denver in Denver against a rookie quarterback. It's fairly simple. It's Sean Payton against Callahan, huge mismatch. It's Cam Ward against arguably the best defense in football with a sick pass rush against a new offensive line. And Pat Surtain can cover Calvin Ridley, and the Titans don't have a lot else to throw the ball to. So I just think this is a really terrible matchup for the Titans in week 1 because it's an inexperienced offense and quarterback against a very, very good defense at home at Mile High with the altitude advantage early in the year. And then Bo Nix will find ways to attack this defense that's weak in the middle of the field. I think Sean Payton will have a good game plan here. So I think the Broncos do cover, but it is a big number. Next, San Francisco at Seattle. San Francisco is favored by 2.5 at Seattle. This is really tough. I would not advise betting this game because I think San Francisco is the better team, but it is Seattle in week 1, and I do really like the Seahawks this year too, but they're also having to adjust to a new quarterback and a new offensive system, and the offensive system is literally Kyle Shanahan's system. So if any team knows how to stop this system at its bare bones base level, it is Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh. So I lean Niners, but I don't love this. Right, and there are questions about the Niners in terms of their youthful defense. A lot of younger guys getting a lot of snaps. They're without some of their playmakers on offense and defense, Ayuk and Mustafa early in this season. I will say, though, it does look like Juwan Jennings is going to play. Pearsall, Kittle, McCaffrey. Seattle's defense is very impressive, and they are good, but I do think Kyle will have a good plan for it, and I think McCaffrey will spark this engine here in Seattle. I think San Francisco has also played well in Seattle as of late. I was at the last game last year where they destroyed them on Thursday night. I also think that the pass rush of the Niners can get some pressure on Darnold in key third down situations. I'm still not convinced about the Seattle offensive line. So I'm going to take San Francisco barely, but I wouldn't advise. This game could go either way. Next, Detroit at Green Bay. I feel pretty convicted on taking the Lions here. I think the Lions are pretty underrated in this spot. The Packers, I think, long-term are more of a Super Bowl threat this year than the Lions. That might be saying a lot, but I think in this game in particular, the Lions will win. I think the Lions have more chemistry and continuity in their team despite the coaching deficiencies that they have lost. You know, those players or those guys that have left, OC Ben Johnson, DC Aaron Glenn, etc., the positional coaches. But Green Bay is having to, morph and work in Micah on their defense. Their offense is beat up. No Christian Watson, no Jaden Reed. Or Jaden Reed is there, but he's significantly hindered by the foot. And you're having to really rely on a rookie in week 1 to beat a lot of man coverage, which Detroit's certainly going to test the Packers with. And I like how the Lions kind of line up against the Packers from that side of the ball. I think they can do a decent job. The Lions have a very good safety tandem. I feel like they could handle Kraft fairly well. And then the Lions are very physical in the run game. They're not going to get ran over by Josh Jacobs, even if that's a really good run game. And then on the other side, I do think the Lions can find a way to run the ball against what's going to be an interesting front without Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton from a year ago. And then they have so many weapons. I mean, like the receiver corner matchup for the Lions versus the Packers is a huge advantage for Detroit. So I actually like Detroit here. I think early in the year, they take advantage of the continuity and chemistry that they've built over the last couple of years. Their culture, their underdog gene shines through, and they win this game as a dog. The Houston Texans at the Rams. This one's really hard, but something's telling me Texans right now. I would not probably bet this game. It's actually a very low total. I like the Texans for a couple reasons. I think that the Texans defense is a really tough matchup for the Rams offense because they have a very good cornerback tandem and they have an excellent pass rush. Stafford is a pocket-centric quarterback who has struggled against DeMeco Ryans' defenses in the past in San Francisco. And the Texans might have the best defense in the NFL. Like, they're going to be coming with pressure, and they're going to hit Stafford. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter have no regard for hitting Matthew Stafford, who has a broken back, basically. So if he gets hit in the wrong way, that's pretty concerning. I don't really fear Kyren Williams on the ground against the Texans. On the other side, I like the upside of playing into the unknown of the Texans offensively, whether it be their running back situation or their offensive line, which may struggle against the Rams pass rush, which is very, very good. But at the same time, could the new continuity and the new offense and the new system maybe do not bad for the Texans? I do think that Nico Collins should have a massive game against this secondary. There's nobody that can cover him in the secondary. Christian Kirk is also very intriguing in this spot. Dalton Schultz can work against the Rams' heavy zone coverage system. I think Stroud actually has a really good game here. So I actually kind of like the Texans. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't bet that, but I do like the Texans. The Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. Baltimore favored by 1 in Buffalo. I've been going back and forth on this one, and I probably will just end up watching the game and enjoying it and maybe betting on some props. But the better roster, the better team, and the more healthy team entering this game is Baltimore. My heart says Buffalo, but my head says Baltimore. Because I do think this is a regular season game, first of all. The weather should not hinder the Ravens in any way, shape, or form, so no advantage given to Buffalo. And Buffalo's secondary is already injured. They could be without a couple corners. Their safety, situation is a bit lurky and murky and just not good overall, and they're concerned about that. Derrick Henry is fresh with his legs, and you got to tackle him early in the year. That's going to be a problem. Zay Flowers is in this one. He didn't play in the playoff game. And the Ravens secondary and defense on paper looks ridiculous. The Bills also start the season slow, typically, in terms of how they come out of the game. Typically, they come back in week 1, but against the Ravens, that's really hard to do. So I think the Ravens find a way to win this game. They are the more talented team. I think in a playoff setting, in a snow game or a windy game, I would take the Bills, but that shouldn't be the case on Sunday night. And the Monday night game is the Vikings and the Bears. Vikings minus 1.5. I like the Vikings. I think it simply comes down to Brian Flores confusing Caleb Williams. That's the fundamentals. Brian Flores will confuse Caleb Williams, period. Ben Johnson, I love him, and he's done well against Brian Flores, but he had Jared Goff, who was a smart quarterback, knew the offense inside and out. Caleb's struggling with that recognition. He's struggling with picking up the offense, all the technicalities. I feel like that will lean into week 1. All with the weapons, all that stuff, Vikings are on it. Vikings have more chemistry on both sides of the ball, and JJ is a question, but I don't think that Kevin O'Connell is going to be confused by anything that Dennis Allen or the Bears give him. I also feel like the Bears, it's going to be difficult for them to get pressure on JJ because the Vikings offensive line is really good and the Bears don't have a great pass rush. I think the Vikings find more ways to sack and get pressure and turnovers against Caleb than JJ does against the Bears. So I like the Vikings minus the 1.5 in Chicago. I know on the road, Monday night's tough, but thank you guys for watching my week 1 spread picks. My best bets will be coming. And guys, if you want my money maker picks, you can check out the Patreon link in the description and the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching. Gronk, spike the like button. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.